We just had a plane crash into upper floor of the World Trade Center, transmit a second alarm, and start relocating companies into the area. Engine 6 to the check. The World Trade Center, tower number 1 is on fire. The whole outside of the building was just a huge explosion. There's been a second alarm on that box immediately.
I remember where I was that morning. Got a call from my mother-in-law, called my wife and said, turn on the television. Watch what was happening, and immediately I knew that the world was shifting. Sensed that the way that things were not the way that they would be.
We have a number of floors on fire. It looked like the plane was aiming towards the building. Transmit a third alarm. We'll have the staging area at Vesey and West Street. Have the third alarm assignment go into that area. Second alarm assignment report to the building case.
I showed up at Frank Hotchkiss Memorial Training Center. I was one of the Captain 2s running the training academy there for new recruits. And as I walked into the office, two of the captains were looking up at the mounted television screen. And there was this image of the Trade Center with this gaping hole in the side and smoke.
I was the chief in charge of public safety in the Fire Prevention Bureau. So I was just coming into our parking structure when I heard some of the news about a plane hitting the World Trade Center.
Marine One, we're in the river. You got smoke, you got fire out of the north side and now coming out of the west side of the World Trade Center, the west side.
And then, as we're talking, out of the corner of our eye, we see this second explosion as the second plane hit. And it was silence. And we just couldn't comprehend what was happening.
At that moment is when you realize, okay, this was on purpose, not an accident. And I think that was the first change, first mental change, like, okay, this is for real.
Yeah, I'm on the FDR drive. Definitely something hit the second tower. Approximately 2/3 of the way up, you got visible fire showing out there. Suggest to the incident commander, Fort David, to transmit a fifth alarm to Tower 2.
My adrenaline started pumping and my mind started racing, saying, what about California? What about Los Angeles? What about our West Coast? What do we got to do? What's going on?
They wanted every council member to come downtown Los Angeles and go to the new Emergency Response Operations Center, which was 4 floors down in City Hall.
Got my clothes on and immediately came down here to the Emergency Operations Center and spent much of the next few days there. This was, only a couple months into being an elected official representing the city, but those days will stay with me for the rest of my life.
We were at the White House, actually across the alley there at the Executive Office Building, meeting with the White House's Director of Government Affairs, Ruben Barales, and we started the meeting a little before 9 o'clock that morning, and someone rushed in and said, my God, a plane has hit one of the World Trade Center buildings. And we thought, oh, what a terrible tragedy.
I remember a lot of the chaos, a lot of the confusion of that morning, and remembering quickly the reality that Mayor Hahn was out of town, and as president of the city council, I was acting mayor.
We rushed downstairs to leave the Executive Office Building. I'll never forget that moment as I got outside. I looked to my left and I saw smoke rising from where the Pentagon was. I looked to my right and everybody was running out of the White House.
And you just think about it. If our nation is under attack, Washington, D.C. and New York, who's next? Clearly Los Angeles, second largest city in America, second largest economy or economic region in the country.
Immediately, I said, well, I've got to get in contact with Los Angeles because we didn't know, were we going to be next? What was the situation? And trying to get on the phone. Cell phones weren't working. Tried to use a pay phone. Wasn't working. But those first minutes, it was very, very terrifying. Everything I remember from being a kid, you know, when they said, you know, we were going to be attacked from the air, suddenly was coming true.
Division 3 to Manhattan. Notify units to get over to the west side. 11th Avenue is closed off. They got a direct route to the World Trade Center. Everything below 24th Street is wide open to get down there.
I was one of the task force leaders for our FEMA Urban Search and Rescue Team, and immediately that was in the back of my mind that New York might need additional resources, but we weren't sure for, you know, at least a couple hours that New York wasn't going to be the only point of attack.
In that month in September, we were first on board with the 3 teams in California to be going on any type of deployment. So we were chomping at the bit to get going, and I wanted to leave right away and go home and pack up and get my 2 red bags that are at home.
We got on a military C-5 with our people, our dogs, our equipment, and we were flying, I think it was about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And the pilot made an announcement to all of us as we were sitting on board the plane, and because even he was kind of in awe. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I've just got to make you aware, and I've never experienced this myself. We are, other than the 2 fighter aircraft that are to our side, we are the only aircraft flying in any airspace in the United States.
I think the dogs had more comfortable seating than us. We knew about the mission. I don't think when we got there, I mean, we didn't foresee how bad the disaster was.
When we got to New York as a team, the focus was on the firefighters who were on the pile. And I think you've probably heard that term. A lot of the public knew it as ground zero. It was a 10 to 15-story pile of debris that was smoking, burning. And if you can imagine an anthill with ants all over it, that's exactly what it looked like. And all of those people were firefighters.
I talked to the guys. I said, look at this, guys. I don't know what we can do. We're 60 guys from California. And look at this, there's thousands of people down there. What are we really going to do? This is beyond us.
It was like any other citizen. We were there to assist them to see if they could find anybody. And it became evident almost immediately that it was all body recovery. So assist them in a task that no one wants.
Had I been a fire officer in New York, I would have done everything I could to get to those buildings and to try to effect a rescue. And that, that could have been any one of us on this department in the building.
A survival tactic of emergency responders, fire, and others, that we learn to compartmentalize things. You just can't do these jobs and see people as people. You can't see the incident, whatever the incident, as involving humans and get involved in their lives, or you can't do your job, therefore you can't help them. It broke down my ability to compartmentalize. It became, although an honor and a privilege to be there, the most difficult emotional thing, including my years in a war, that I've ever done. It was the longest 2 weeks of my life.
We didn't really know what we were going to do. We had hoped to work at ground zero, but we weren't really sure, but we were going to do something. And so our thought was, you know what, there's enough of us, let's break into groups, and let's go start hitting the local fire stations and just see what we can do. Can we clean up for you? Can we cook for you? If there's anything we can do, we're here from Los Angeles. And just the look, you guys are from Los Angeles? Here to help us? Absolutely. And a few of us cooked, a couple guys, guys have been at the fire station for 4 days straight. They just want to go home and see their wives. They couldn't even call. Phone lines are down. And a couple guys, you know what? Turnout's fit. I got your seat. Tell me what to do. Quick rundown on how to do it. And they ran a few calls and sent those guys home so they can go see their families for a couple hours.
One of the things that we did is we wrote LAFD all over our vests, our helmets, and really approached the FDNY members one-on-one and told them, hey, I'm from Los Angeles Fire Department. And once they figured out who we were and what we were there to do, they began to open up and really appreciate what we were there for.
Most of the searching that was taking place was blind. The dogs proved to be an invaluable tool in really narrowing a very wide debris field to a very precise spot.
She found anywhere from 20 to 25 in New York. The majority were firefighters and police officers. All that work that we put in, all the hours we put in, and when your dog finds either whether it's live or deceased, it's like, that's it. That's the reward. That's the reward.
When we lose a person in the city of Los Angeles, that hits us like a ton of bricks. You have 343 firefighters killed one day, in one moment.
Those professionals knew, probably to a person, they would not come out. And yet, they went in. When you think about that passion, when you lose 70 of your top commanders, 343 of your own, and the resilience to keep going and not quit, something.
That level of bravery and that ultimate sacrifice, should not go without some sort of remembrance. They didn't sign up for that. They signed up for to assist the public. I'm not certain they signed up for that certain death that they, subjected themselves to that day.
When this was over, a team was built between the two coasts that simply didn't exist before. There was a realization that the city of New York, the New York Fire Department and/or police department, and all the rest weren't attacked. The United States was attacked.
And I try to tell my daughter, I try to get her to appreciate, I bring her to events and memorial events, whether it's for 9/11 or just for any firefighter that's lost his life in the line of duty, so she can appreciate that there are people, including her dad, that there are people who are willing to, without question, sacrifice everything to make sure you go home safe.
If it were possible, it would be tremendous if we could collectively, all of us, uniform, not uniform, every walk of life, turn around, look back 10 years, and think how we came together. And find a way to do it again.